Hello.
Hello, hello. We can't see or hear you. And it's just iPhone. So we don't know who you are.
It's a person.
Oh, it's Jade. Hello.
Fine.
How are you?
Sorry. I'm good. I'm a little bit in transit right now.
You
Hey,
are.
buddy. But I was like, maybe
Multitasking.
I'll zip into this because I just so happen to be free. Do
Oh,
you
good.
mind if I'm here and I don't want to make you motion sickness? I can,
No,
if I
you're
turn
good.
my camera off because I am moving around.
That's fine.
Fine.
But I can hear you and I can talk. I'm just
Good.
between appointments and I'm
Perfect.
feeding Rex.
Oh, good.
So
As
yeah, I'll
you
just
do.
let you. Is anybody else here?
Not
Or
yet. Not yet. Hi,
okay.
Dixie.
Lexi,
Oh,
say hi to Alexia.
Oh,
he
hi,
can't
Papa.
do this every
Hi,
time.
Daisy. He
Oh,
always looks away. He's like, no, I don't want to.
he's
He
gorgeous.
is gorgeous.
Rexy, did you go for chiropractor today?
How did that go?
It was really good. Yeah, he loves it. He goes once a month. She's lovely. Yeah, she said that his back was out. He's quite hypermobile in his
Mm.
spine. So she put it back in, and then his neck was a bit out. She put it back in, and she's like, that could also be part of the licking. And I was like, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So we're just gonna hit all of the things and
Mm,
track and collect data, but
it's
not
what we love.
everything all at once. That's what
Exactly.
Alexia always tells me.
Exactly. Listening. That's my girl.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
we thought actually this would be a kind of perfect conversation for us to have on one of these lives of using an actual dog and running through it. And you did such a great job of
Mm,
starting to implement it. And so our intention with this is to see where we might be able to see some things to kind of dive a little bit deeper into each of the categories, but with this intention as well that it's about gathering more information that you could then take to your wider team, right? So it's not
Hmm.
necessarily about what you have to do. There might be some elements in that of things that you can do, but it's also in that spirit of gathering more data that you can
Hmm.
talk to the chiropractor or the vet,
Totally.
behaviorist or whoever and say,
Hmm.
this is what we've been seeing over this period of time. And so it helps them better diagnose because we can't diagnose, you can't diagnose, but we can
Hmm.
gather important data and show what we've tried, what has changed, what hasn't changed, etc., to help them put
Hmm.
the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah, it's just like knowing what to try, like you
mhm.
don't know what you don't know,
100%.
learning, and then you're aware of it, and then you can collect that data and bring that forward
Yeah.
to your pet or whatever.
To start off with a couple of quick questions, where is he actually licking and itching? What paws and where on the paws?
He's licking all four paws in between the toes and nobbling on the pads.
On all paws.
Yeah.
Is there is he favoring any particular side of the paws when he's giving him a little nibble?
Nope, just the insides,
And is
like
he
the
doing it on
insides
the
of the
leg?
pads
So you're meaning like in the groove of the
between the pad. Yeah, in the
Mm.
groove. Yeah.
okay. And anything on his legs? He's not doing
He's doing a little bit of this on the upper parts,
okay.
Is
and I
that
did
front
notice
or
there's, go
is
Front.
that
ahead.
on the front legs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both of them?
Um, both of them. Yeah. And I have actually noticed there's a little bit less hair there now, and the skin is darker. And he's done a bit of licking around his anus at the base of the tail.
Hmm.
And then he's also doing a lot of this and shake once in a while.
Okay. Have you noticed you mentioned the time of day being like 9 to 10 at night?
Yeah. So 9 to 10 at night is like when the licking starts and it's incessant. Like once we've like settled down to bed.
Okay.
And then it also sometimes he'll do a little bit of it with transitions. Like if he gets up from the couch and then goes to his bed or his bed to the couch,
Hmm.
he'll do it for a little while. Almost it's like a beat, like a habit, but then he stops. But
Hmm.
last night I was like, oh my God, this is like driving me insane because it was just going on and on and on. And he won't stop. say, okay, like, does it more? Like, don't make me stop. I'm addicted to this.
But has
Yeah,
he
that's
actually broken any of the skin or anything? There's not, it's
no.
just the licking, but
There's
he
a
hasn't
little bit
made it.
of there's a little bit of a red spot on his back left paw on the inside of the pad, but otherwise he's not doing like any self-injurious behavior. Like
Mhm.
it's not, yeah, it's not like causing any big issues. So that's the other thing where I'm like, okay, well, it's not causing any problems, but it is a change.
Yeah.
And therefore I'm noticing it and I'm like a little bit curious slash concerned.
When did you notice it started?
About 2 weeks ago.
So like,
But that was also when he ran out of the kidney liver cleanse from a 4-leaf rover, which I'm also aware you're not supposed to do year round.
Hmm.
So we finished a jar and then he got really itchy and licky right after that.
okay.
So
And
I
what,
wonder if that was a core, if that those things were correlated or not.
well,
But I don't.
they could be in the larger picture. So for people who are kind of are listening to this on the replay, I'll summarize
Mm-hmm.
stuff that you shared with us. Um, so we'll kind of walk through. Would it be helpful, Stace, if we just sort of took it F.E.T.C.H and then what we're
Yeah.
discussing? Okay. So we'll start with some of the stuff that you shared with us that he's started licking, particularly between 9 and 10. Um, he had a vaccine, he had the leptospirosis vaccine in June,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and he's gone to your mom's a few times over the past few weeks, which he finds stressful,
Yes, because she has a dog and her dog is being a little territorial of the home, so he feels unsafe there.
right? You run out of the four-leaf rover liver and kidney cleanse.
Yep. Yep.
And then you've got
We also went on vacation for 5 days, which was the first time I was actually able to take him away in years. And he did phenomenal, but he was very tired when we got home.
Yeah.
Like he slept for like 3 days after that. And we didn't do anything crazy. Like we were just hanging out, but it was a new environment and
that takes a
he
lot.
took the ferry. Yeah.
Aw.
He also stayed home at the Airbnb by himself. I brought the dog camera and the crate, and he did so well. I was so proud of him.
Oh, Rexy, good. But
Yeah.
all of those things, that's a lot. That's a lot right
Yes.
there, right?
Hmm.
And then from the food perspective, so for those listening that you do have him on a combination of doing a cooked diet of a
Yeah.
pork loaf that you make or a pup loaf that you make and you're doing the pork one right now and
Right now, pork. Yeah.
you add in commercial raw
Yes.
every now and again as an 80-10-10 patty. You do
Yeah.
bone broth, which is amazing. You make your
Yep.
own broth. You've tried him on a bunch of different foods, but we know that he does best. He's stable on pork. So when you find that something comes up, you put him back on the pork as a kind of reset to then see,
Yeah.
which is great. Which is great.
Just to confirm, it's not any different foods that I've been introducing him to. Yeah.
Mm, perfect.
Can you hear me?
Yep,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay. Good.
And just to confirm, Jane, so when you're doing so everyone's aware, when you're making your pup loaf, you're doing it like an 80-10-10 kind of mix where you're adding in
Yeah.
uh
Secreting organs and liver.
perfect. And are
Yeah.
you, I know I've asked you about this in the past, but because you've not mentioned it, I just want to ask you, are you also consistently adding in sardines and eggs?
Just sardines. I haven't been able to successfully get him on eggs. Um, he likes egg yolk. He doesn't like egg white. And
Okay.
I think I tried, and then maybe I think I want to do it more like carefully because like I introduced him to egg around the same time that he had like venison, and then I'm like, well, maybe he's itchy. I don't know. Like I need to track it better.
Hmm.
So I haven't successfully introduced egg yet.
Okay. How are you serving egg to him when you have served it to him?
Um, I've given it to like I boil eggs for myself.
Hmm.
So I just like give him the yolk out of the boiled egg.
Okay. Have you tried a scrambled egg?
No,
Because that might be
that's a
some,
good idea because then it puts it all together.
Yeah.
yeah. And dogs generally really like scrambled eggs.
Yeah, they smell good too.
They do smell good. So that could be a way to try it. And especially now
Okay.
that you've got him on consistently back on pork. You said what, 10 days you've got him back on that?
Yeah, yeah,
That might be something since you know that the food part is stable. Add in the
that's
eggs and
true.
see how he does with that because eggs are a crucial part of the diet.
That's so true.
So
Because
when
he's
we're
not getting choline
Yeah,
otherwise.
right,
exactly.
exactly.
Okay,
Fun.
okay,
So putting it together when we're looking at F, that would be one of the things that I would look at as missing is the egg.
okay.
You are
Mhm.
also
Even,
go ahead.
even if the itching and the licking hasn't resolved yet, it's still okay for me to introduce egg right now.
Yeah, because if he's not on egg, you know the egg isn't causing him to itch.
True.
Right. So
Okay,
when we were doing an elimination diet originally with him, because there were so many suspected food intolerances, that's where we were looking for that correlation. But if you know, if he's itching anyways without being introduced to it, it's definitely not egg that's causing it.
right. Okay.
Are you
And
also, I was going to
you
say,
go.
are you also doing kelp?
Yes, I forgot to mention he's on the Canadent product as well.
Okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Stace,
I
go.
forgot to.
No, my question was just going to be in terms of is he having raw for breakfast and cooked for dinner, or vice versa, or a mix? What
I
does that?
mix of both. Like I
Okay,
put all of it in a bowl in the morning. I mix all the supplements in and I divide it into two bowls. I give him his breakfast and then he gets his dinner later in the day.
okay.
Yeah.
And then flipping down,
I have a feeling he would, I don't know if he would eat raw straight on its own. He's a little bit of a picky eater, so he likes the raw mixed in with some cooked.
is there a reason you're giving him raw now?
Um, mm, no, I mean, on the one hand, it's just easier because I have less loaves to make. Like I have a small freezer.
Yeah.
Mm.
Um, and also, I don't know, I think I just thought that it would be like, because it's less cooked, maybe it's more nutritionally available. That could have been my own bias. But I kind of started just introducing it and then I just kind of kept it as is with the half and half. And I've never fully transitioned him to a fully raw diet. And that's also because he's a cold dog.
Hmm.
With a history of GI issues.
And
Hmm.
is that 80-10-10 commercial completely pork as well?
Yes.
Yeah, and you know that it's pork organs and stuff in there as well. Just
Yeah. It's
yeah.
the complete, yeah. It has all the right stuff in it. The bone and the organs and the meat,
Wow.
muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So moving,
And then when we're not doing pork, like usually like the other reason I liked using the raw is because I can get trout, I can get venison, I can get bison, I can get rabbit. Like there's so many options that are just harder for me to source and make a loaf with.
no, that makes total sense. That's totally fine.
Hmm.
And just to address for people who are listening, like the difference between gently cooked and raw, there actually isn't much of a nutritional difference whatsoever, especially when
Okay.
you are adding the juices back in from the cooking process of a gently cooked
Okay.
food.
Yeah.
For many dogs, especially ones that have had GI issues, cool dogs, older dogs, they do much better with a gently cooked food because it's as if the digesting process has started a little bit and it's
Hmm.
a bit more broken down, which makes it easier for the body to actually absorb the nutrients.
Mm.
And that's ultimately what we're looking at, right? Is how much of what is being put into the body is actually absorbed and made use of by the body. So it's, just to kind of challenge that idea that raw is the best. Raw is great for a
Hmm.
lot of dogs, but for a lot
Hmm.
of dogs, it's not. So I think you're fine with either one, but if you are noticing that he's kind of shying away from raw, that
Uh-huh.
would tell me that there could be a little bit of a digestive issue for him, given his
Hmm.
history of having
Hmm.
digestive issues and him being a cool boy.
Okay. Maybe I'll try separating them out and just see what he does with just straight raw. He does love raw meaty bones now. So that's
Uh,
good. Like he loves them. Before he would like not even touch it. He'd be like, what the
Yeah.
hell is that? But now he loves them. So that's good. And he's digesting them well. Like his poops are
Aw-
really good after a bone.
Awesome.
so
Awesome.
that
Hmm.
means things are healing in that department and starting to move on. Because I think it might be interesting to compare like how he does with the raw on its own and how he's doing with the cooked. That
Hmm.
just to see the
Yeah.
difference in terms of whether any of this foot licking, itching is potentially food related. Is it because
Yeah.
some kind of absorption thing? And this is
Hmm.
where it's interesting to track and to see
Yeah.
what
Absolutely.
differences might
That's a
be.
great idea. Okay.
Yeah.
I have noticed his poops are better since I introduced raw. When he
Okay.
was just uncooked and I was using the bone meal, Alexia knows about this. Um, he was screaming when pooping a lot. Like he would have painful bowel movements,
Yeah.
and then I had to like, pull back on the bone meal, and then the stools were softer. And then when I started adding raw and not adding bone meal, his poops got much better, and he hasn't had any of those incidents in a really long time.
So that would tell me he's doing better with actual bone versus bone meal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Um,
that would be a question of just figuring out which, from a raw perspective, which brands work better
mm-hmm.
for him because different brands and different formulas will use different types of bone and they'll have therefore different bone content. Even if
True.
it's labeled as like an 80-10-10, if they're using a chicken carcass, for example, a carcass
Mm-hmm.
is 80% bone. So that's really high. That's a lot of bone, and some dogs can't tolerate that. But you switch
Mm-hmm.
up to the same brand, but a different type of bone, and they can do that because it's a lower percentage. So it will be kind of watching him. So it might not be that it's a raw issue. It might be the
Mm-hmm.
type of bone that's being used in the raw.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Totally. Okay. That makes sense. Um, Also, I have noticed he's a little bit constipated lately. Like he's been having only one bowel movement a day.
hmm
So that's kind of concerning, but you might have noticed that I also chose to give him, I'm sorry, guys, flea and tick prevention.
we
I
saw
gave
that.
him one. Okay. I felt bad about it, but I wanted to rule out fleas. If I knew if I went to the vet, they would say, well, when did you last treat him with um, the flea stuff? And I'd say, oh, like a year ago. And they would be like, well, that's your number one. Like, we've got to rule that out. So I gave that to him a few days ago, and that could also be contributing to constipation,
It can
I
be,
think.
but we'll get
Mhm.
down to that.
Okay, sorry.
Hopefully-
I
No,
won't jump ahead.
no, no,
We're
no.
still in F.
Well, it's just to show you how you can deep dive into this, right? And so you've got
Yeah.
things you can come away with now of things you can add, like the eggs,
Hmm.
some things you can be watching,
Hmm.
separating the raw and the cooked as a trial thing to see. Stace, go ahead.
Sorry, no, so is he getting a raw meaty bone alongside the 8 to 10 10 as well on occasion?
Yeah, he gets a raw meaty bone every like 2 or 3 days.
Okay. And what kind of bones is he getting?
I'm giving him necks, like beef
Nice.
or
Okay.
pork necks. Yeah.
Because that could be something to watch too. If you're
Yeah.
giving him a raw meaty bone on the days that you're giving him the raw, that already has,
Hmm.
so that could bung him up.
That's true.
So give the raw meaty bone on the days that you're giving the cooked, the
Just the
potluck.
cooked.
hmm
Yeah. I've noticed too, like his poops are like kind of like on that chart. Like they're not they're like a four. Like the last few days they've been kind of soft. Like they're softer than I would like, and there's a bit of constipation.
In the same poo or in the same day?
In the same, like he in the, like, for example, the last 2 days he's only had two poops, and they've been softer
Uh-huh.
and only one a day.
And have you given him bones over the past couple of days?
He had a bone 2 nights ago. Yes.
So that,
So there'll be like kind of two parts to the poo. The first part's like softer, like not soft stool. It's still a formed stool, but
yeah.
it's softer than than it would. Like it
Mm,
leaves a bit of a residue on the grass, for example.
right. Okay.
And then he'll have like, and then at the end of the poo, he'll have like a bone poo. and they'll be like the harder bone that comes out, it's a different color, it's a different consistency, and I'm like, oh, there's the bone.
Yeah. That's not too unusual.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it could be potentially a case of looking at the 8 to 10 10 and the bones that you'll give him smaller bones
Hmm.
or less bone because
Yeah.
I'd imagine the pork neck's quite chunky.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a
I
good
mean, a
point.
neck is usually 50 50 in terms of muscle meat
Meat
versus
and
bone. So
hmm.
it's a pretty even split. But
Okay.
if he's struggling, then if you're
Hmm.
adding that 50% essentially on top of that 80 10 10 that's already got the 10% in, it could just be that that's too much for him. But
Mhm.
it could be on a
Right.
day like that he has the raw meaty bone in the morning for his breakfast with a bit of scrambled
Hmm.
egg and then cooked in the evening or something. It could be a
Hmm.
case of playing around with the diet like that rather than the 80 10 because you're completing it so beautifully with the other bits that it could be that you
Hmm.
could play around with how he's having that bone as actually a meal or part because they're pretty sizable, aren't they? So for him that would be a good
Hmm.
meal.
Okay. That's a good idea.
Yep.
Thank you.
And it might be easier for you to take that 80 10 10 out and then see how he does with the because then you haven't got bone meal either to worry about in the
Yeah.
cooked because
Yeah.
then he's getting it beautifully portioned in the bone because it's the natural combination of calcium and
Totally.
phosphorus which helps with the poop.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's actually how I feed Lucky Jane.
Mm.
I give him
Hmm.
like the cooked loaves, and then
Hmm.
his calcium source, I give him a raw meaty bone. But I have similar kinds of issues in terms of poo with him that
Hmm.
I give him like say a chicken wing that is slightly too big for him, but he will eat the whole thing. Then I know
Hmm.
the next day he's going to have a poo like that where the first part of it is going to be a little bit softer, and then here comes the bone.
Hmm.
What I
Hmm.
do is I just pull back on the bone the next day. I might give him
Hmm.
half of a wing, or I might not give him a wing at all, depending on what he's done. You
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
so it's kind of balancing it over the period of time and adjusting. It doesn't have to be this
Hmm.
idea of every single meal they have to have some element of bone.
Okay.
Whereas my Ted's the opposite. He needs more. So
Mm.
he's
Hmm.
currently on a complete raw, a really lovely brand, but he still has to have either a duck neck or a duck wing to
Hmm.
help keep that bone content above the 10% because
Okay.
he's probably at about 15, I'd imagine, to keep his stool good. He has to be
Hmm.
slightly higher. So every dog is different,
Hmm.
and that's why it's
Yeah.
just kind of playing around with it and getting to know their
Hmm.
normals. But the fact that you're tracking is beautiful, so that you're
Hmm.
aware of the fact the first poo's great, better, but then we get the bone poo coming through, and then how does that relate to what he's eaten and when he's eaten it?
Right. Okay. That
Brilliant.
makes sense. I also just want to let you both know that I have to leave this call in about 7 minutes.
Yep.
And so I'll just watch the replay, but I'm sorry that I can't be here for the
No,
whole
it's
thing.
No, but it's and thank you for submitting this because I think it's just a great way of showing people how you're actually doing it in practice. And you've done such an incredible job
yeah.
of
Oh, thank you.
you really are. And I also just to note like how like at first you were like, oh no, tracking, I don't want to have to do it. And like you do a beautiful job with it. You do such a good
Oh,
job
thank
with it.
you.
So Rex,
Thank you. And thank you for the framework because it does make it feel less overwhelming.
oh good. Good.
Yeah.
That's
We're
good
so
to
glad.
hear. That's what we wanted it to be, right?
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
want people to be able to think and go, right, I can work through this now. I've got something
Hmm.
to work through each of the boxes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm.
So we'll quickly skim through energetics because you already know that he's a cool dog and you are looking at giving him a neutral diet and then warming it up as much as you can. When
Hmm.
and again adjusting. I love that you also mentioned that because it's summer, he's getting that
Hmm.
heat. So you're doing that comparison of like
Hmm.
in comparison to what? As it's summer, he's getting the heat externally, so you don't necessarily need
Yeah.
the warming process.
Hmm.
That was beautiful.
Hmm.
This is the area I wanted to talk to you about, the targeted
Hmm.
approaches.
Yes.
So the all of the supplementy kind of stuff. I think this is a great place to kind of dig in. Because I know some of these things we had put him on initially when you first came to me, and he was in a pretty rough state, and we were just trying to
Yeah.
get him healed. So I
Yeah.
would say you probably don't need a lot of these.
Okay.
So we want to kind of run through it a little bit.
Yeah.
The colostrum, for example, you might not actually need that right now.
Okay.
So that might be something to experiment with. Again, going back to what I tell you all the time, don't do everything at once. So don't like
Yeah.
stop everything or add everything at once because if something happens, you're not going to know. So,
Hmm.
but that is something you could wean him off. And the same with the methylated B12.
Okay.
Have you had any blood tests recently?
Yeah, he had blood work in, I think it was March. He had a tooth extracted and his blood work was fine.
Okay.
His health was good.
Did they test for B12 on that?
No, I doubt it.
Okay. Because that might be something to go back to the vet and ask if you
Hmm.
test his levels for that, because you might not actually need the B12 supplement at this point.
Okay.
Because if he's absorbing the food better, because we know that some of those GI
Hmm.
issues we're actually absorbing stuff, so it may be that he doesn't
Hmm.
need it now.
Okay.
So that's like a thing to ask, add to your list of things to kind of look into.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
I love that so I would say that the potency omegas is more, I would almost pull that up into the fresh food. That is an essential part of the diet. So
Okay.
yes, stay on that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the zinc, I actually
Hmm.
think because you're using a small amount, so we've added zinc into the diet to boost the zinc to support both his gut and his skin. Especially since he's
Hmm.
itching, I would keep him on the zinc.
Yeah.
Okay.
The chia seeds, great with the pork, so we added that in to help balance the fats.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Wheat germ oil for vitamin E, definitely. So again, that's kind of in the F category because that's an essential.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I would
Hmm.
question the kidney liver cleanse right now because I know you've used it
Okay.
quite frequently, and
Yeah.
I think you have to be off it. Is it 3 months?
Yeah, I think it's 1 month it says on the jar.
One
You
month?
do, yeah, you use the jar up, which usually takes like up to maybe it takes 45 days. I
Yeah,
should track that better. And then it says take a break for a month. It says you're supposed to do it quarterly,
yeah.
like a quarterly cleanse. But like I just noticed it was so interesting as soon as he ran out of it, the itching started. And that's kind of what I'm fixing on right now is I'm like liver, detox, liver.
I,
But
I agree with you. I agree. Those are things to watch, and I think that's fantastic. But because that product has multiple things in it that you are meant to pulse, meaning you go on
yeah,
for a bit, off for a bit, on for a bit, off for a bit,
yeah,
I would stay
yeah.
off it since you just came
Okay,
off the recommended
okay,
time that the product states.
okay,
There are other
okay.
things that you can be doing to support detox. And I'll actually, you might have listened to it already, but if you didn't, the episode that I did with Katie Woodley on
Hmm.
skin and gut health, the first interview I did with her, she talks about different things you can be adding in for detox for the different
Uh-huh.
phases of it. So it might be,
Right.
for example, beetroot is really good
Hmm.
for helping with the detox process. So it might be that you choose to incorporate a little bit of beetroot as part of Rex's vegetables.
Hmm.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? Rather than
And beetroot is just the actual beet
yes,
because
sorry,
beets are a root, right?
yes, we
Yeah.
call
Okay.
it sorry.
In the UK. Yeah, no, that's okay.
And that has to
Perfect.
be cooked. That has to be like a root
Uh-huh.
vegetable has to be boiled.
Right. Yeah. Boiled. Okay.
So it could be if helping support his detox with those types of things, or perhaps you want to put in some dark leafy greens. I know you use kale. Maybe you want to use some
Hmm.
spinach, for example, or maybe you
Hmm.
add in, say, a little bit of celery, either to his
Hmm.
food or to his broth to help support kidney and liver. So
Okay.
there are other ways you can support the detox processes that aren't specifically about using those herbs. So that's what I would look at.
Okay. I think she said dandelion too.
Yep, you can use dandelion leaves.
Dandelion.
You can use
Yeah.
root, I mean, you can use all parts of the dandelion, but I think you in the stores, can't you get dandelion leaves like in the
Yeah, I think you can get dandelion greens.
Yeah.
Yep. So that would be an option to add in. And again, similar to how we think about rotation with the proteins, thinking about rotation with the greens that you're using as well, and also seasonally. So if you're moving through
Hmm.
the different types of plants that are available to you seasonally, that will also help support him.
Hmm. Okay. That makes sense.
And then, are you good with that, Stace?
Yeah, I just started looking. I'd gone into, I was in a book. I was just looking at meridian points and stuff. So we'll cover that. Don't worry. We're
We're on,
going in.
we're on it.
Mm.
So from that then, but I love that you identified all of that stuff, Jane. And it's so helpful. And again, bringing stuff like this to your team is so, so useful where you've got all of that,
Hmm.
you can start to put it together. For curiosity, you're doing a fantastic job of tracking. I also noticed that that Caroline Thompson had put in the group as a comment to yours
Oh, yeast.
about yeast.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about yeast too. Um, he doesn't smell super strongly of yeast. There's a slight Frito smell on the toes, slight, but his ears are red, like more hot. There's more heat in his ears. They're more pink in the inside. There's no like sign of like discharge or anything like that. They're clean. And then his armpits have turned dark.
Mm.
So I'm like, maybe there's some yeast happening here.
It's possible. Again, we can't diagnose it, but there are at-home kits. You don't
Yeah,
have,
like the adored beast, yeasty beastie. I was thinking.
well, so before you use any kind of protocol,
Yeah,
you want to diagnose it first.
right.
So doing a test, either going to your vets to have a
Yeah,
skin scrape, or
yeah.
I think you probably have some at-home tests in Canada. I can double check on that, but we definitely have
Okay,
here in the UK and they're in the US as well, where it's an
that
at-home.
would be nice. He
You
does
just
not like going to the vet.
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a really inexpensive test. You just swab the dog in several areas and send it off to the lab, and then they can confirm it with you. You
Okay,
you should always have it diagnosed before you
yeah.
always.
Okay, that makes sense.
But
Okay.
the itching, it doesn't mean that there is yeast. It's just, again, so it raises questions of we've got to rule things out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But also, under
Definitely.
curiosity, I wanted Stacy to talk about her experience too, because the nibbling and because Rex has a history of hip dysplasia, pain,
Mm-hmm.
various kinds of issues, it could also be deferred pain.
Yes.
Might need something other than chiropractic support.
Okay.
So I think
Good.
for part of your tracking, it would be helpful to kind of look at any potential what you're doing in the day in terms of like what exercise he's had and
Mm-hmm.
the amount of time and where he's been walked to actually to see if there's any connection with that in terms of potential pain. Because
Okay.
my Ted, who's just turned 10, he's on a pain med trial at the moment, and I've seen massive differences in him
Okay.
now that he's on
I'm
this.
so sorry that you guys, I
Don't
have to go,
worry,
but please keep
It's
talking and
okay.
I'm gonna watch the replay and I
It's
really
okay.
appreciate it. Thank you
Thank
no
you
so
for
worries.
calling
much.
in. Enjoy your day.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Um, Yes, so I will carry on talking as if Jane was still here. But yeah, I've seen massive differences in Ted in terms of the pain, particularly for him, it's been the pooping position that I've really noticed the difference. Before, he always used to waddle, and you've been witness to this, Alexia. You've seen the waddle poo, and even though you've thought that that's, or I've not necessarily thought that that's been a problem, now seeing him poo stationary
Yeah.
is like, wow, there's obviously been something going on for a while that's because I don't remember him not doing it.
Yeah.
So that's been since he's been with me, which is 8 years.
So have you also seen, because you've mentioned to me, and I've seen this with him, where normally, like even when you're going out for the walk, like in the morning when you're getting ready, and he's at the door bouncing and really shouty, and you said he's stopped doing that, but he'd also been having a problem of jumping into the back of the car as well. Has he, and I know you're trying to limit that kind of stuff so that you're not putting any kind of pressure, but are you seeing that he's also, have you noticed a change in either of
Yeah.
those? Yeah.
Yeah, so that before we're going out for the walk, he's definitely more settled. So whether that's pain related or whether he's just yeah, I don't know. What was he jumping to kind of get himself ready, and was it kind of the adrenaline was keeping the pain kind of I don't know. This is where it just gets really fascinating because you're starting to see all these things come together now. And in terms of the jumping, yeah, I'm trying to stop him doing it. After a walk, if we've walked longer than probably we should be at the moment, he still struggles a little bit.
Right.
But no, but so I'm lifting him and putting him in. But he's definitely finding it easier in before we go on the walk to be able to get into the car.
Yeah. And but
And he's definitely calmer.
he's definitely calmer. And but to put this into the kind of like the bigger picture too of what you're doing and how that would relate to something like Jane using a chiropractor, which is fantastic, but you had been seeing an osteo
Yeah.
previously for Ted. But now you've also started working Louisa, who's bringing in some other modalities as
Yeah.
well in addition to trialing the pain meds. And in fact, it was because of her noticing certain things that that became something like, all right, well, let's try this. So could you talk a little bit about how you kind of pulled those multimodal approaches to?
Yeah, because I'd been using an osteo for him for about the last 18 months, 2 years, I think, because I was concerned that potentially it was a trapped nerve or something to do with his seizures. So I was trying to work on that part of it as well, and just being an older dog and just wanting to keep him comfortable. But over the last probably from this year, probably from the spring, I'd started to notice that there was a kind of wobble in his gait and there was kind of some movement, and his left leg just didn't look right when he was walking. And I was very kind of conscious of the fact. And again, because I'd been paying attention to those things, it's easy to start spotting the differences. So I think, again, it just keeps coming back to get to know your dog's normal so that when something does look different, you're aware of it and you're like, ah, hang on a minute, there's something going on there. And a couple of people I'd walked with had said, yeah, that doesn't look quite right. His gait was off, and then in June he jumped up at the front door and yelped, and then he was out of action for 2 or 3 days because he couldn't move. I mean, he was really lame on his front left leg. But since I'd gone to the vet, they'd given him some anti-inflammatories and I'd given them to him. We'd gone away on holiday and then we came back and I had an appointment with Louisa so that because I wanted to take it to the next level, I knew that osteopathy was great, but I wanted to see what other modalities could come in, whether that was red light therapy, no, how do you, how, ma
My actual,
my thank you, release, um, and some of the other treatments that she does, because I was just intrigued to see it from another viewpoint, to see what she could see. And the report was really extensive in terms of what I got. And then I went back to the vet. We had a conversation, because Louisa had suggested that he go on this pain med trial to see how he does. And then, yeah, he's been on that for what, 2.5 weeks now, I think, maybe nearly three. So, and within that time, there has been a shift. So it's been fascinating for me to see that there's obviously been something rumbling for a long time, and the vet now also thinks that potentially it is cruciate that could be rumbling. So it's how do we support that now and keep him as comfortable as possible? So
right.
there's lots of little moving parts with it, but it feels much more manageable now because I'm starting to build this team and I'm beginning to get better at observing other things. Like the poo thing was just the first thing, and now there's other little bits, and I'm beginning to track that and add that in and monitoring how long his walks are, mixing them up so that he's getting shorter ones and slightly longer ones, but I'm trying not to do over an hour because he doesn't cope.
Right.
That's when he seems to struggle the most, is if you go over an hour.
Well, what I think is great and what will be relevant to Jane as well is that it's I think like chiropractics and osteopathy and all, are absolutely fantastic. And it might be that it's a fascia problem, right? And not related to the bones at all. Or it could be a trapped, it could be a variety of different things. So if
Yeah.
you're bringing on team members with different approaches and different specialties, they might pick something up that doesn't necessarily get picked up in other places. It could even be like acupuncture. That's something that I think I can't remember if Rex has had acupuncture before.
Mm.
So Jane, you'll have to get back and tell us that. But even something like that along the meridians that he is repeatedly
Yeah,
chewing.
because of where they're culminating in these pads. Yeah, what's going on in that? Is it just that the pain's coming out there, or is it something further up that's and that's where he's just feeling it. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And that could be his way of detoxing too,
Yeah.
is dealing with all that. And to kind of put it into the bigger picture of what Jane was telling us, within within the past 2 months, he's had a heck of a lot of things put into his system, but also he's had to experience with going on vacations, which is stressful for him. And some of the background is like Rex has a lot of trauma. And
Yeah.
so what might and as Jane said, she was so thrilled this was the first time she was able to take him away. Like this is a new thing for him to be able to go into those new situations. And even though he processed it really well at the time, his body's still dealing with that. It's a little bit like how I've talked about with Lucky and how I've been dealing with Fleagate 2025 as a result of the kind of now his ability to sort of release with all of the trauma that he's been through for the past
Yeah.
5 months. So it's not necessarily that something happens and there's the experience or the kind of effect of it in the same day. It takes time. It builds up over time, and then there's a release over time as well. So it's putting all of those puzzle pieces together. And it might be he just needs a really good massage, right? Like maybe he's super tense as a result of all of that. So it's about giving you these different angles for things to try and to rule out different things so you get to the root of what's going on much quicker. But I also thought about in relation to curiosity, and because Rex has been in different environments too, he might have been exposed to environmental pesticides, right?
Yeah.
Where has he been walking? And so we would say this for anyone, if you're having a similar kind of thing. Has your dog been walking through a field or a neighbor's lawn where they've sprayed something? Or anything like that that could have gotten on their paws and is
Yeah.
creating an issue for them. And it's not just that it gets on their paws, it then gets in their system, and their system is trying to detox it, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes a bath isn't enough if
Yeah.
it's gotten into their system and they're licking it and all of that kind of stuff. So that stress,
Yeah,
um,
and I was thinking as well because there was a few things around the fact at what time it was, but one in terms of the time, but also could it be a possibility of like playing that some of that relaxation music for him as well, in case of whether it is even if it's a nervous system response and that he need some whether it's worth playing around with getting some just finding some of those tracks because who was on Mystic? I can't remember. I've forgotten.
Lisa
um
Spector, Lisa,
that's the one. She's got some stuff, and if you just Google kind of relaxation dog music and stuff, there's plenty out there on YouTube which can be really, really helpful. I mean, I don't even use the dog specific stuff. I just put on relaxation music, you know.
yeah, exactly. And also going to your point about the time, 9 to 10 p.m. is the triple heater meridian, and that is associated with trauma. Like a lot of dogs who experience it's like vagus nerve fight or flight kind of center. And Dr. Laura Donaldson, who I've interviewed on the podcast too around reactivity, you can listen to that because she talks about some grounding techniques for dogs. But she also does an EFT, an emotional freedom technique course for doing it on your dog. You can do it on yourself, but you can do it on your dog as well. And even she described like some simple relaxation things. The triple heater meridian runs up for us. It's like, oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
There's
see that I was trying. Yeah,
it's around like our ears, behind our ears, and down the neck. And it's the same with the dog. So you could actually just sit there with Rex and like massage him at night, kind of thinking, with some light pressure. And that
yeah,
sends a signal to the vagus nerve that he's safe and he's calm. So it could be even something as simple as that could
yeah,
help with it. But I wanted to address her question about the flea and tick stuff. And also how this points to, I'm really glad you raised this, Jane. That fear we have of going to our vets and feeling ashamed that we have or haven't done something, that we've made a particular decision.
yeah,
So, for anyone who's listening that might be struggling with that as well, we have in our Fetch starter pack, we have a free PDF in there on how to navigate conversations with your vet. That could be a really useful starting point if you're kind of feeling a little worried or overwhelmed about how to stand up for what it is that you want, how to ask questions, how to know what questions you really want to have answered, particularly because vet visits are short and compressed. And if you're anything
yeah,
like me with any kind of appointment like that, it's always like you're at the last minute, you're like, oh, but now I have the questions I really want to know the answers to. So giving you a tool to kind of reflect on that so you make sure that you get out of the appointment what it is that you want. But I think we should talk about the flea and tick situation sort of generally from the 81% campaign perspective.
Yeah, I think it's and I totally understand the kind of thinking that it's to rule something out by giving something, but the flip side of that is as well that if you're not seeing anything, then why do you need to do that as well? So it's kind of looking at it from both sides in terms of if he hasn't got them or you're not visibly seeing anything, then what's the, what process do you need to go through to make that feel more comfortable about A, not doing it, not giving it, or B, feeling confident in why you're doing it, I think, isn't it? It's understanding that it's two sides to that.
Yeah. Because just to clarify, the flea and tick meds are treatments, they're not preventatives. So they will only kill fleas if they're there, and they do that by they still have to bite your dog. The fleas have to bite your dog, and then they die from the toxins. There is a time and a place. When your dog is absolutely riddled with fleas and ticks, that's probably going to be the thing that you need to do. But it's always, so we're not saying don't use them. It's using them in a targeted, specific approach, and usually as the last resort, whereas they are generally given as the first thing to do. But I think giving a bath is a great idea, but I would also say, what shampoo were you using? Because it
Hmm.
might be that he's irritated by the shampoo as well. He was irritated before, but he's continued to be irritated
Yeah,
because of the shampoo. I love that you went and washed the bedding, all of that kind of stuff. Yes, yes, yes. Um, but he will be in a detox process as well. And those
yeah,
drugs affect the microbiome. They affect everything. So gut and skin health are linked to that. So it would be about looking at an appropriate detox protocol. Again, not going back to the liver and kidney cleanse because you've been on it for as long as you're meant to be on it, but other ways that you can support the detox, um, like the bone broth that you're doing.
yeah,
So adding in some garlic and some thyme to the bone broth will both help prevent fleas and ticks, but
yeah,
also they are fantastic fuel for the gut microbiome.
yeah.
So that would be something that I would consider adding in.
And because he'd also, I think there was further up in the post was there that he'd had the lepto as well. So from a um kind of chemical input, there's been a lot within that the last kind of month or so. So his body is just adjusting to that, I think, as well. So I think it's just to be mindful of that this is a process and it might just be this blip now, but kind of supporting him through it, it won't be forever.
Yeah.
It's not a permanent thing.
Exactly. Exactly. And so for future iterations, it would be looking at does he actually have fleas? So going
Mhm.
through with the flea comb and seeing are you getting any kind of flea dirt? Are you finding any fleas? And if not, then the treatment isn't going to do anything anyway because there's nothing there to kill, right? So it's kind of taking this more proactive approach of ruling things out before then treating
Yeah.
something. And it's the same with the yeast. I mean, we see this all the time, don't we, with people who go to the vets with itchy dogs. Nothing's tested. They just assume quote unquote allergies. And if you want to know more about allergies, by the way, listen to the podcast episode I just did with Dr. Katie Woodley on allergies and intolerances because she's flipping amazing and she breaks
Mhm.
all of that down. And it's well worth understanding the conflation of those terms.
Yeah.
Because, for example, with the itchy skin stuff, where we see so many dogs that have been put on Cytopoint or Apoquel, when they don't have allergies, they have yeast. And those drugs are immune suppressors. So all they're doing is suppressing the actual itch, but not what's causing it or anything like that. And they feed the yeast,
Yeah.
which gets worse.
And you just end up in that revolving door situation, don't you? And you can't ever get on top of it. And it becomes even harder because the more that the immune system is turned off, the more opportunity you're giving the yeast to overtake, and then you just end up in this constant cycle, and it's really hard to break at that point.
Yeah.
that's when it gets tricky
Yeah. And that's
because
why people are just so frustrated.
yeah,
Yeah. But it's always you never want to treat for yeast, like with fleas, like with anything. You don't treat until you know that it's that. So you need to get it tested and diagnosed. And also if you're going to your vet and they're saying that the dog has either a bacterial or a fungal infection and they're giving you both antibiotics and antifungals, push back and ask them to test what it is. Because antibiotics don't work on fungi and antifungals don't work on bacterial
yeah,
problems. And if you're giving both at the same time, you're absolutely annihilating.
every chance you've
Yeah.
got of yeah, you're making the recovery process so much longer because you're literally wiping everything out.
Yeah. And antibiotics absolutely have their time and place, but again, they should be used in a targeted manner. So you should know what it is that you're treating for.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest issues we deal with, isn't it? In terms, particularly when it comes to yeast, because it's just, particularly here, it's just not tested for.
No, it's
They
not in
don't.
the States either. It's not in the States either. And so that might be something, again, going back to having a conversation with your vets, you might have to push back and say, can you please request the test? You have every right to do that. And it's not an expensive test at all. It's like, I think it's like $50 in the States or something. I mean, I know it's not a small amount of money, but it's also not a huge amount of money. And what is
Yeah,
it? It's like
it's
30, 40 quid.
£40 here. Yeah, for the Fet Club one. Yeah,
So it's definitely an investment. And then from there, you seek out the appropriate protocol. And again, we would walk through the
yeah.
fetch, like
Because
where
the targeted will be different at that point, but it's because you know what you're targeting this time. So once you've actually got that answer, you can actually deal with the problem at hand rather than just, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. So I'll throw everything at it just in case, but it doesn't help because that there could be one thing in one of those supplements that is the thing that's triggering it or making it worse, and you just don't know that.
exactly. Well, to bring up what Katie Woodley was saying, in fact, so many people think that they've tried all the diet stuff, they've switched everything out, they've done all the things, and there's still some level of intolerance. And she's like, most of the time, when you've gotten to that point, if you've not fixed it with those other things, the kind of first things to do, there are issues with the body responding to additives that are in either a supplement, in the synthetic mixes,
Yeah,
vitamin and mineral mixes. There's something in there that the dog is responding to. So, yeah, it is kind of being that sleuth and going through all of that stuff. And it could very well be something like that that's triggering the issue for you. But if you are, just on that note, if you are having a problem with skin issues, yeast or yeast in particular, we have a Fetch First Friday episode on yeasty beasties that might
yeah,
be helpful. Also, Katie Woodley's first episode that I did with her on skin and gut issues is super helpful. And also the recent one I just did with her that came out the weekend on allergies and intolerances be good places to start with all that. And of course, you can ask questions in the group.
absolutely. But yeah, I think that was a really great, and I love the way Jane put that together, the question in the group, and kind of put it through the fetch lens and really showed it in action and how she's starting to think it through. And yeah, it's cool. Love it.
Do too. So if anybody has any more questions either about this, go ahead and you can comment. And again, we encourage you to comment using the Fetch framework. Like, how have you thought about this? What's made you think about that thing? Or if you've got a question, what part of it do you have a question on? Also, if you have an issue with your dog that you want to run through in a similar kind of way,
Mm,
jot that down and we'll help you through with that as well.
yeah. Yeah,
Anytime.
because we love doing this. This is the stuff we live for.
We love it. And like Jane said, we really hope that this is something that becomes a really useful tool for you to keep going back to make it simpler so it's not like, oh my God, what do I track? What am I looking for? But if you've got these particular categories that you can keep working through, it makes it a lot easier. And again, like we've been saying this whole time, you have so much data to be able to share with your team that it makes them diagnosing or seeing things in a different way so much easier.
Yeah, and I mean, even with Ted, it was just taking little videos every now and then and pictures because that was the other thing I'd noticed the wonky sit had started. So that left leg where the pain's coming from was just coming out. So I was just grabbing photos when I could. I remember the first time I did because I kept missing it. I never had my phone with me, and he did it upstairs, and I had to shout for my youngest son to grab his phone because if I moved, Ted would have followed me. So I had to get him to get the phone to take a photo. And there's me standing there like that trying. It's really awkward photo. But I was like, I need to document it because then I've got a photo that then I can share with Louisa and say, look, this is what he's doing. And then that builds a picture for her and I could show the vet and it just gave everybody the information without me going, yeah, he just sits a bit funny. I've actually got a visual representation of what that looked like.
Yeah.
So they could see how he was sitting. And
Super.
I know that that had changed because he'd always sat square before. So I knew something was starting to change, that that leg coming out isn't normal for him. But then again, it's probably not normal in any case. But for him, it was a definite change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Awesome.
Mm.
Anything else?
No, I think that's it. But yeah. Yeah, let's do another one next month. That's fun.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.